Hey guys, we managed to retrieve the data from the JSON and show it as a movie gallery. Our only problem is that our application still looks kinda terrible. So let's go back to the index.html and add a few extra elements. First, let's add a title to the movie gallery by creating a div here, telling Bootstrap that it's a full width div, then adding div class page header, and let's title it most watched movies this week, or just most watched this week. Let's add an extra class to use in our CSS. Let's name it section title. Now let's go to our app.css and add some styles. Remember the Google font we used last time? It was cool, right? So let's use it again. Let's add an import and Google API, CSS, and okay. And let's get a section title and give it a few attributes. Let's use the font family Lobster. Let's change the font weight, line weight, font size, and remove the margin. Then we're gonna limit the height of the movie container. And finally, let's add some attributes to the movie thumb itself. Let's align the text in the center and change the color to black. And then in the H5, let's put the font weight as bold and add some margin top. Finally, when you hover it, we don't want any text decoration and we want the color to change to gray. That must do it for now. Let's go back to our browser and check it out. There's still some margin under the thumbnail we don't want, so let's go back to the CSS, add thumbnail, margin button 10, and then let's limit the height of the thumbnail to 200 pixels. Going back to the page, and it's good. It still looks a little raw though. Let's try adding a navbar. Go back to your index.html, and on top of the container, let's add a new navigation element, and let's class it navbar fixed top to tell Bootstrap that the navbar is gonna be fixed on the top of the page, and navbar inverse to make it black. Inside of the nav element, we're gonna add a div container and a link that we're gonna call navbar brand, and we're not gonna link it anywhere yet. And inside of that, let's add the name of our application, movie DB. And let's also add a span glyph icon just to make it prettier. Now let's go back to app.css, add some margin on the top of the body so we have some space for the navigation. And let's make the navbar brand use the same font as the section title. Now go back to your browser, reload your page, and it looks slightly better. We can work with that. Now for the next step, pay attention to the fact that our gallery is showing every single movie on the list. We don't want that to happen, so what about adding some pagination to it? Bootstrap happens to have a pagination component that can help us out with that. Remember that I previously mentioned the project called Angular Bootstrap or UI Bootstrap? This project is basically an Angular module that implements all the Bootstrap JS components using pure AngularJS instead of jQuery and Bootstrap's JavaScript. To include this module to our app, let's go back to our bower.json file. Let's add the Angular Bootstrap package without specifying any version, and then let's go back to our command prompt or terminal and install it using npm install. This will install the Angular Bootstrap module into the Bower components folder. Now go back to our index.html and let's add the Angular Bootstrap script here. It's important, however, that you add the Angular Bootstrap /UI-bootstrap-tpls.js file, instead of the one just named UI-bootstrap.js. The TPLS version contains the templates for the Bootstrap components, and it will make our life easier. This will make the page load the module script, but it won't add the module to our application yet. For that, we have to go into our controller, or alternatively to our catalog.js, and add the UI Bootstrap module as a dependency, so AngularJS knows it has to inject it. Now we got the module going on our controller. Time to create a couple variables we're going to use. First, let's create a scope.currentPage variable and a scope.pageSize variable. The current page will keep track of which page we are on the pagination. The page size will define how many movies per page we want to show. Let's set it to 12. Then, back to our index.html, let's add the pagination directive near the bottom. Let's add the pagination class, and now we only have to pass a few parameters to the directive in order to make it work. First, the total items indicate how many movies there are in total, so let's pass the length of the movie list array. Second, the ngModel attribute will be the variable the pagination will use to keep track of the current page. Let's pass the current page attribute to it. Finally, the items per page attribute is pretty self-explanatory. Let's assign the page size variable. Now, if we go back to the browser, you'll notice that the pagination was added to the very bottom of the page. The buttons work, and the Angular Bootstrap module makes sure the current page is up to date with the value indicated in the pagination. Despite of that, the pagination does not affect the movie gallery yet. In order to do that, we need to somehow filter the gallery using the pagination variables to only show the movies from the page we're currently at. AngularJS does not have a built-in filter for that, so let's take this chance and learn how to write a quick custom filter. Let's create a new file to contain our filter. Let's create a new directory called paginate inside of the components folder, and in this directory let's create a new file called paginate-filter.js. And inside this file we're gonna create a new module called moviedb paginate-filter. Inside this module we're going to register a filter called paginate. The paginate filter will return a function that gets 3 parameters: the movie array, the current page, and the page size. Then we will return the same array, but we'll slice out everything that comes before and after the current page using the slice method. It's important to add some error handling here, because the movie array is loaded asynchronously, so you can get an error if you try to filter the array before it's actually created. Finally, let's add the new module to our application by going back to index.html and loading the paginate filter file. Don't forget that we also need to inject the module into our application on our app.js. Back to the index, the only thing we need to do now is use the new filter. Let's go to the ng-repeat tag, add a pipeline, and then pass the filter name and its 2 parameters. Finally, go back to our browser and test it out. It works. Now I'm happy with the movie gallery. In the next video, we're going to introduce multiple views to our application alongside all of the concepts and components we're going to need to do so. See you there.